Recording. So this week we are talking about seventh chords and building them, and that's very exciting. I'm actually learning about seventh chords myself right now, which I don't know why, because we learned them in AP, but yeah, so let me get the screen up. Hold on, let me click out of that. I have election results pulled up instead of the slideshow. Okay, there we go. So like I said, we're talking about seventh chords this week. Big thing about seventh chords is that you need to know your triads and you need to know your different types of triads very well, because that's what you're going to be using for a seventh chord. And then we're going to talk about what goes into building a seventh chord, different types of seventh chords, and then we're going to get into seventh chord inversions. Then I have a little, we'll do a few together as well. So this is just the same thing you've been seeing for the past few weeks, just because I wanted to make a note to talk about triads. Specifically today we'll be dealing with major, minor, and diminished. You can put augmented in the back of your mind for today, but always remember what notes you're lowering or raising in these. And also this is just another reminder to learn what Roman numerals go with major and which ones go with minor. So what is a seventh chord? A seventh chord is a chord consisting of a triad plus a note forming an interval of a seventh above the chord's root. So previously we had just been using scale degrees 1, 3, and 5 to form a triad. But now we're going to be using 1, 3, 5, and 7. All those scale degrees. So just some notes I put, determine what type of seventh chord it is by figuring out the intervals in between. We'll talk about that in a second. And it can also be thought about by how many half steps are in between two notes. So that's when I say intervals in between, you can think about it as half steps in between. I know that's helpful for some people, but like I said, we'll elaborate on that in a second. So just like before when we had seen the 1, 3, and 5 build up, here's the 1, 3, 5, and 7 buildups of a C major scale. And notice that the 7 chord here is notated differently than it is here. Yeah. Okay, so this is the most important slide that will be in this presentation tonight. So this presentation is in the Notion already. I put it in there today. So if you didn't want to copy this down now, I would definitely do it then. I also took a scan of my original notes of how I learned the different types of seventh chords, because I kind of position them out as I write the example as well as what they are. So like a major seventh and so on. So I'll put that in the Notion too. So if you want to copy that, if you like that style better, we can do that. So a major seventh chord is made up of a major triad with a major seventh added on top. So when I say a major seventh, I'm talking about that's the interval between scale degree 1 and that last note. So if I'm talking about, if I'm making a C major seventh chord, I'm building the major triad, which is C, C, E, and G. That's the major triad, right? But what would I add on top of that to make it a major seventh? You can unmute yourself.
B.
Yeah. Oh, I just realized that my AirPods are not even connected, so that's good. So altogether that sounds, that's a major C major 7th chord. Okay. So then we go to a dominant 7th chord, where it's a little bit different, where you start off with that major triad. So when you're writing these out on a staff, you always start with the triad first, get that down, then add the 7th. So a dominant 7th chord would be C, E, and G again, because that's the major triad. And then if it's a minor 7th, what would the note be?
B flat.
Yes. So okay, so notice that I have them on here notated as M7. So if I were to write out C major 7th chord, if I were to notate that, it would just be capital C M7. Okay. And then for a dominant 7th chord, it would just be C7. We won't get to the 5/7s just yet. Ignore that says 5/7 or V7, but 5 in Roman numerals. So how do we feel about those first two chords? Good. This is why it's so important to know your triads and then your intervals, because that's what you build, how you build it. So then if we're moving on to a minor 7th chord, we'll do a C minor 7th. So this would be a capital C, lowercase m, then a 7. Okay? So this is composed of a minor triad with a minor 7th. So that's C, E flat, G. And what's the minor 7th? We just had it in the last one.
B flat.
Yep. So another way to think of that is, you know that we're doing a C chord. And then you know that we are the 7th scale degree in C would be B, right? Because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we're making that 7th interval there minor, then it would just be flat. That's that minor 7th interval there. So that's a C minor 7th. Then as we have, so the half-diminished 7th chord, it's not notated correctly because I can't do that in Google Slides, but how you would notate it, it would be like a capital C, and then up in the corner, it would be a circle with the slash through it for half-diminished, and then the 7. And the reason we're keeping that capital C rather than a lowercase c is because we're not in the key of C minor. We're in the key of C major still. So if we're making a half-diminished 7th chord, it's a diminished triad with a minor 7th added on top. So C, E flat, and G flat with the additional minor 7th, which we had discovered before was B flat. So okay. And lastly, we have the diminished 7th chord, which you can notate as C with the circle and then 7. They have it written in here, they, me, because I made these slides. They have different notations in here that you might also see them as, but usually they're going to be notated with symbols such as this. So if we're making a diminished seventh chord, it's a diminished triad with a diminished seventh. So this one, when I had said before that you get that railroad track movie scene sound, this is especially what I mean. So a diminished seventh diminished triad would be C, E, G flat, and then with the diminished seven, so our minor seventh was B flat, right? So we have to even further flatten that to a B double flat. So the chord ends up sounding like that ultimate like fear sound bite. So does anyone have any questions on how you would build those chords?
For the half diminished, why was the E flat? And then for the regular diminished, why was just the E regular?
Oh, did I sorry, I must have said it wrong, but I was playing the E flat there. So that was just my bad. Because you're right, the diminished triad would be C, E flat, G flat, then B double flat. So I'm gonna play the half diminished seventh chord and then the diminished seventh chord, so you guys can hear how they sound. Okay. Okay. Do you want me to play through any of the other ones again?
Could you do all of them? Just like
Yeah, I can do them all in order. Hopefully I don't mess this up. Let me just connect my AirPods really quick. Okay, there we go. So we will start with a major seventh chord. And then a dominant seventh chord. A minor seventh chord. Half diminished seventh chord. And then fully diminished or just diminished seventh chord. So the key there with that one is the B double flat. And when you talk about seventh chords, you're going to be making things flat or sharp that you usually don't. There'll be F flats, all that kind of stuff. But always remember that you can make something double flat or double sharp. That's key to know. And double flat is notated by the two flat signs, and the double sharp is notated by an X on that same staff. So are we okay with those?
for the exam, are we gonna have to like identify like identify the seventh chords by sound, or are we just gonna, is it more like notating like on an FRQ?
So seventh chords, you won't have to hear, you won't have to listen to. You'll have to write them out though. Writing them out is really what most people are tested on. but you have to, for the listening on the test, I know you have to do just regular triads. So they'll ask you, like, is this triad major, minor, augmented, or diminished? So you'll have to identify what you hear. But it's not seventh chords, it's triads for that one. A good way of just practicing that is if you have a keyboard, or since you have an iPad, Kurt, Alondra, I don't know if you have a keyboard, but like since I recently got this iPad, I used to have the piano app on my phone, but now I have it on my iPad and it's so much better and bigger, and I would really recommend that just for you guys to play around with, because once you figure out where C is, you got the rest of the octave there. So it's nice to play around with chords on that specifically. Because once you can identify them and think of them in a certain way that you can apply them physically, it'll help you hear them, I think personally. We're gonna do a few examples of this at the end. Like we're gonna write 5. We're gonna write one of each of these, okay, out. So hopefully you'll have more questions by then. So this is just an example of them written out here. So this is a major 7th, this is a dominant 7th, minor 7th, half diminished, and then fully diminished. And this is actually what I just played. So also just one nitpicky thing, because my professor was even talking to me about it too today. See how they have spaced out their flats here? So like, he was just criticizing me because I wrote them all down in a straight line, and that's not the proper way. I don't know if you'd get points taken off for that. Same with sharps, but you kind of want to space them out. It doesn't matter where they are, how far away they are, is if they're on the same line as that note or in the same space. That's what matters. So you just want to make it, space them out a little bit so it's clear to your reader on the test what they're looking at. So this is just a great reference if you wanted to go back and put the definition of a major 7th chord and then write the example, and then put the definition, write the example. I think that really helps. If it's gonna let me go to the next one. So this is a little overwhelming with information, this slide, but I know I had included this with the triads before, so I'm going to include it with the 7th chords. This just takes a look at the different intervals. This doesn't include all the ones we talked about. This one leaves out the major 7th, but that's just the major and a major. But here you can see major triad, minor 7th. Why is Siri going off? Oh my goodness. Anyways. So yeah, this is just a different look, color-coded way to look at the intervals that I think helps. And then they're basing this one off of F. So it's a little different. And this is also, I was just trying to find other ways for you guys to think about this and write it down in your notes, just different ways to look at it. This is just writing it all out for you. And it breaks it down by each interval. So the root in the major 3rd, then the root to the perfect 5th, the root to the major 7th. So that is another way to think of that. Ignore this part down here. This just means half diminished. You don't need to talk about the minor 7th B5. Guitar people talk. Okay, inversions. Are you ready for this one? I know we did inversions in different weeks last time, but we're doing back to back because I want to get to part writing before Thanksgiving. So, same thing here, except instead of going up until 2nd inversion, we have 3rd inversion now because we've added a note. So we have root position, which you guys are familiar with. 1st inversion is the same. You're bringing the root up, and now the bass is the 3rd. And then second inversion, the fifth is now the third. And then third inversion is when you have the seventh in the bass, okay? And when I say in the bass, that means at the bottom, which remember that for part writing. So this, I think I have another slide that goes more in depth into the inversion, so I'm just gonna go to this one. So this kind of breaks down the intervals for you here, because remember how we learned how to notate the other inversions? So first inversion was 6, and then second inversion was 6, 4. Now we have different ways to notate it, but it's very easy to remember because if we're talking about a regular seventh chord, it's always going to be notated with a 7 because they want you to know that they're looking for a seventh chord, okay? If you don't see a 7, don't include that seventh note in there. So it goes for root position, you're always going to include a 7. First inversion, it'll be 6, 5. So if we were talking about this C being a 1 chord, it would be 1, 7. And then in first inversion, it would be 1, 6, 5. Second inversion would be 1, 4, 3. And then third inversion would be 1, 2. So the best way to remember this is that it literally goes down 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. So it's pretty simple. I think these ones, once you get that initial concept of the inversions with the triads, I think you guys will have no problem with this. Yeah. Any questions about inversions or anything about seventh chords? No? This might be a short one then tonight, guys. So let's do some examples, and I'm going to stop sharing. I can just tell you what these are. We don't need to look at the full examples, but I'm going to use my iPad for this. Look at how fancy this is. I'm really moving up in the world, guys. So first off, I just want to go back and talk about how you would notate things. So we're going to do C major 7th. That's how you'd notate that. Then you'd notate a C dominant 7th as C7. I write my 7s fancy. Then the C minor 7th would be with the lowercase m. The C half diminished 7th, C with the circle, slash, and then the 7. And then the C fully diminished 7th is just with the circle, no slash. I need to disable Siri on this laptop because it's getting annoying.
I thought the dominant had like the V.
No, so the V is just for part writing. It's something different. They're saying that's the 5 chord. So it had said on there like the V7, which we'll talk about in a few weeks. But if you were just saying to write a dominant 7th chord for a note, it would be C7. If you were given a worksheet and they were asking you to write a 7th chord, it would probably just give you the bass note, so the bottom note, and then have a 7 under it. It might not even say what note name it is. So is everyone okay with the notations? Okay, cool. So now we're going to we'll do 5, an example of each. So the first one is a D major 7th. So that, this is probably not going to be the prettiest, but we're working with what we have. I didn't want to use flat IO for this because I think it's better if we write them out.
Do you have good notes on your iPad?
I don't.
Okay.
Does it make the line straight?
It just has like manuscript paper.
I should get that. I'll look into it for next week. Good notes. This is also an older iPad, so sometimes it doesn't let me download different apps. I don't know. It's weird. So this we're doing it in treble clef, so don't forget to write that. And this is a D major 7th. So I'm going to use a different color to write the notes in with. We'll use blue. So, keyboard's still on. So what is the first note going to be? It's going to be a D, right? Cool. So why is this not writing? I'm just going to use whole notes for this because it's easy. And the next note is going to be what?
F sharp.
Yes.
I fingered it on my instrument. I was sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. F sharp. And then what's the next note going to be? It's going to be A, right? And then what will the 7th be if we're in D major 7th chord?
C sharp.
Yes, good. So there it is. That's how you would write it. My handwriting is never this bad in person, I swear on my life. But we're working with what we have right now. And let me do this so I won't. So we're going to rotate between treble clef and bass clef. I know bass clef personally for me is painful, but you have to know both, especially when we get into part writing, but especially for the test. So make sure when you are changing clefs, you write it at the beginning of the measure there. We'll do this one in a different color. And this one's going to be a B flat dominant 7th. So that would be notated like this. Ugh, that's ugly. Bro, look at me. I feel really cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying you should do.
Oh, okay.
You're doing great.
Thanks. We'll do a different color. In honor of the election yesterday, we'll do blue and red. So our first note is going to be B, but we're making it flat, right? Because it's B flat. And we're in bass clef, so the B is right there. Don't forget to write the flat in. What will the next note be? Yeah. Okay. And how about our next note? Okay. And do you believe that this is the B flat major triad? I just wanted to make you think there. I wanted to make you second guess yourself really quick. So what will our seventh be? Remember, we're in dominant. Yes, yes. So that's what it'll look like. Just don't forget the accidentals, okay? Especially because right now we don't have anything like, there's no key signature here. We're just given the clef, okay? So those are the first two. Are we good with those? Can I get rid of them? Yes. Okay. I would suggest you write these down just for reference. Time to draw some lines again. Those are looking a little janky. It's okay. We'll work with it. We'll do green. Oh. And this one is going to be in treble clef again, since we're rotating. I don't like that treble clef, so I'm going to redo it. Good enough. And this one is going to be a C minor seventh chord. So that looks like this. I'm actually going to rewrite that because I want to just leave myself a little more room. Okay. So our first note is going to be C. What is the next note? Yes, I saw that, Alondra. But is it going to be E or E flat? If we're in minor. You got this. If it's a minor, so if we're in a C minor seventh chord, that is made up of a C minor triad plus a minor seventh. So that would be an E flat. That. And then what will our third note be? If you don't want to unmute, you can write it in the chat too if you want. Yes. No accidental, right? Good. So there's our C minor triad. And then for our seventh, we have to write a minor seventh interval. What was that, Alondra? I think you said it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. B flat?
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Mad at myself for writing this one because we did do it, but it's okay. So that's what that looks like. And usually, like, see how I have the space here? Like, you don't want that. But yeah. So you might just want to make it a little. So it'll still look like a whole note. Okay, our next one is going to be in bass clef again. And it is going to be F half diminished seventh. So that is written like this with the slash through the circle, excuse me. And We'll go back to red. So if we are in bass clef, our F is going to be down here. What is our second note? What is that third?
A flat.
What was that?
A flat.
I don't know why I can't hear you guys.
A flat.
I still can't hear you, and it's probably just me. So let me take this off. Okay, try that one more time.
A flat.
Yes, perfect. A flat. So that is going to look like this. With the flat symbol. What will our next note look like? What's the fifth? Remember, this is half diminished. C flat, Alondra? Yes, that's perfect. Because if it were just the F, A flat C, that would just be minor, but we want it to be diminished. So you're adding a flat there. And think about this one carefully. What will the seventh be?
I was gonna say E flat.
Yes, that's right. Because let me just talk about intervals for a second. So I'm going to use different colors. So from here to here, we have a minor third. Okay. Which we knew that because we were doing, so here we have the minor triad, right? So minor third interval between these two, minor third interval between these two. And then we're going all the way up here. That's a lot of half steps to count, right? We don't want to do that. So the way I think of it is the seventh scale degree in F is an E, right? And because that's the note right before it, if we were starting over again. So the F to an E natural is the major seventh there. We want the minor seventh. So it would be F to an E flat. If that makes any sense. Okay, cool. So let's get rid of these. And we have one more. I'll just clear it again. One more. And this last one is going to be A diminished seventh. So fully diminished. And we're back in treble. So I want you guys to do this one on your own, and then just let me know when you're done, and then I'll go over it with you guys. So we have A diminished seventh. Don't forget to think about what the key signature too would be. If we're in A, what would be sharp, usually. Just give me a thumbs up when you're done. Good? Okay. So our first note will be A. And what's our second note? C, yep. No accidentals, because usually how many sharps would we have in the key of A? Yep.
I'm not sure.
Pretty sure I didn't ask Alexa, but she answered anyway. Yeah, so we would usually have 3, which C would be one of those, right? So by lowering that, it would be lowering it from a C sharp to C natural. So there are no accidentals for that one. What's our next note? Go ahead. Anyone?
I said, this is a little weird. E flat.
No, that's right. Why is
Oh.
it weird? That's right. Because it's a diminished triad, right? And then a diminished seventh. So a diminished A triad would be A, C, natural, and E flat. Let me play that. So originally, if it were a major, it would be A, C sharp, E natural. But if we're making it diminished, it's going to be A, C natural, E flat. You're lowering both of them. So that's right. And so then what will our seventh be if we're doing a fully diminished here? Yeah, you said G. So we have a G, but what is the accidental? Is there any accidental? So think about it. We have, in the key of A, we have 3 sharps, right? F, C, and G. So this would originally be a G sharp. If we were to lower that to make it minor, it would be a G natural. But since we want it's fully diminished, we have to have a diminished seventh. So it would be C flat, right? Or G flat, sorry. Because, so we have, okay, so this is the major, this would be the major one. With that G sharp. When we make the seventh minor, it's the G natural. So we have to further lower that to a G flat. So that chord, the A fully diminished seventh, sounds like that. Train tracks, kind of, I don't know, we always refer to it as train tracks, but that's just how we did it. So that's all I have for the examples. Let me figure out how to like stop sharing this on here. And I'll leave the meeting on this iPad. But so notice how I didn't do the inversions for any of those, because I want you guys to focus on knowing how to write each different type of seventh chord rather than figuring out the inversions, because the inversions can always come later, and they will in part writing. But I think because you already know triad inversions, that the inversions won't be hard for you guys. The only thing you really need to remember with those is how to notate them. So the 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. That's very important. But I had written in my notes, focus more on writing the different types of chords and inversions. So we'll talk about inversions more when we do part writing. You know, keep them in your head, but just really focus on the different types. And because when you're doing the test, you could even have a multiple choice question that's like, what is this chord? And it'll have it written out for you and then ask you what kind of seventh chord it is. So that's why you want to really, really know those. Yeah, so I think I just had one thing to show you on this PowerPoint because I found it online and I thought it was interesting. It was this thing on musictheory.net, and it walks you through a whole lesson, but it also shows it to you on the keyboard. So, you can go as fast or as slow as you want, and it'll show you how to build all these things, and it's a whole lesson on it. So if you guys are confused, then you can just go to that. It's in this slideshow, but I can put it in the resources too of all of that. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I have like a request. I don't know if you can do it though. Could you pretend to be like a teacher and then like assign us something every week as like homework?
Sure. I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing with the worksheets, but I didn't want to force you guys into anything.
Could you force us?
Sure, yeah.
Feel guilty if we don't do it.
Yeah. Sorry, I just read that I had 93 text messages and it just sent me into like a spiral. But let me just I don't know why it's opening so many things on my laptop right now. I'm gonna go to the hub right now. I don't have it up, but let me go to it on this. Why is this not letting me move, you guys? Okay, these are my notes. So let's get out of that. And I spent a lot of time on my worksheets the other day. I have a 7 chords worksheet. So I would start. Is this one good? Yeah, maybe start with this first one for next week. Okay, this is a lot of stuff it's covering in it. So I think that this would be good. Oh, but this has augmented in it. I don't want that. Okay, I know what I want you to do. So do the worksheet 3 and worksheet 4 because I think they're somewhat simple. For next week, they come from the same thing, same school that I found them from, and I think that they're very, very helpful. And like this stuff here for number 2 is basically what we were just doing. It's just incorporating inversions. So that'll be something for you guys to play around with inversions for. Yeah, I think that this would be good. Let me see. What is this? Why is it doing that? Why does it only have 2 notes? I think these are saying the intervals, maybe. Okay, so this just wants you to fill it in. Fill in the rest of the 7th chord based off of what the key signature they're giving you is and what the 2 notes they've given you is. No, this is part writing. Don't do this yet unless you want to really challenge yourself because see how we have the 2 staffs connected? If you want to look and try and figure out what this is, I encourage you to do that because I think you could do it. So if we were looking at this first one here, we're in the key of, okay, let's first figure this out. So this is a C, A, F, E. So you find those notes and then put them in order. So C, A, F, E. So that would be, if we were to put it in the correct order, F, A, C, E, right? That would be an F chord. Do you know what I'm saying? Because they're all misplaced here. So if this is F, first of all, it wants you to figure out what key it's in. And then if this is F, what inversion would this be? Because F isn't the bass note, right? It would be second, right? Because this is C. You're fine. So F, A, C, E. So it'd be second inversion. Yeah, this is good. This is good. So it's asking for the key that we're in, the root note, which would be F in this case, and then the position just means what inversion it's in. So you would say, let the key, and then you would say F, and then second inversion. You guys can write like second, but I think just to get into the habit of it, maybe write like how you'd notate it. Do you know what I mean? So this would be a 4-3. So maybe write 4-3, right? Because we were doing the 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Like we still write it like 4 and then on the bottom 3, or just the numbers 4 and 3?
Still write it like one on top of each other. Yeah, that would not be good if you wrote 43. This one, like I said, what we were just doing. And then if you were to move on to this one, also remember, because these are dominant sevenths, both of that. So you know that this is going to be a major triad with a minor seventh always. Okay, and dominant seventh chords are probably the most important type of seventh chords. So I think this is a good start. Same thing here. When it says position, just remember it's inversion. Same thing. If you don't want to do these, you don't have to. I think it would be interesting if you did try though. And then here, and they're incorporating some minor ones too, which I think would be good for you guys. So yeah, worksheets 3 and 4, definitely do those for next week. And I think if, please message me and ask me questions and send them to me by next Wednesday. Or if you even do it by the weekend. I try and grade them in the same day and give them back to you guys, but I don't have the keys for these, so I have to, figure them out myself too. So yeah, worksheets 3 and 4. Also, you know what I could do is I could make a thing on here that's like, I could literally say homework if you want, and then write like the date or the week and say what I want you guys to do for the following week, just as like a reminder. Also, I added this in here because I thought it would be fun. I don't know if you guys can edit my Notion. Cool, so I'll delete it. Because I can edit, like, we have one for Fiveable, so I can edit that one. But unless I figure out how to let you guys edit it, I'll delete that. But I thought that would have been fun. But who knows? Yeah, also, I had said to you, Kurt, that I had put a bunch of rhythm ones in here. There's a whole packet, which I think is great. Some of these, like in Notion, it doesn't display the whole thing, so you just kind of have to keep scrolling down. But this is a great packet for rhythm. It's just 3 pages, but very good for regular groupings. And I literally loaded up the triad one, like, so there's so many in here now. So keep doing those if you want extra practice, but definitely do the 7th chord, 3 and 4 for next week. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys today, unless you have any burning questions for me. None? Okay. Well, that seemed oddly simple today, but I think it's because we spent extra time on triads. Because really triads and intervals, like I said, if you know those, you know how to make seventh chords. So I think we are good. Please message me with any questions or when you finish them. I'll try and get them back to you as soon as possible. And especially if you get them to me like at least a day before next Wednesday when we'd have office hours, then we can talk about them. Like if I have to like have any direct comments that I didn't write in the worksheet, we could then talk about them. So, and also someone had reached out to me in the Fiveable community about that I could do like one-on-one tutoring with you guys. Even if you need it, you can always reach out to me for that. I'm here for that as well. We hadn't really talked about that before, but just message me. And we don't even have to do something that we're learning about. It can be something that you're self-studying. Say, hey, I need help with this topic. We can work on it one-on-one, whatever. I'll set up a Zoom call. Just let me know. But yeah, I think that's all I have for you guys. So do those worksheets. Practice your ear training, please. And yeah, have a good rest of your guys' night. Hopefully the state of the world will be a little bit calmer next time we talk. Yeah, I won't get into politics, but have a good night, guys. I'll see you later.